Hey, Shane,
Yes, Spence?
have you seen Serendipity?
No, I have not seen Serendipity.
Neither have I. Jared, have you seen Serendipity?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Well, now the whole room has seen Serendipity. Fantastic.
We have officially seen Serendipity.
Nice.
Jared, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being on. We discovered Jared
Thanks
through
for having me, guys.
TikTok. He does film reviews and physical media and all that stuff. You should check him out. I believe your at is JRD Movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Check him out. Follow, subscribe, whatever the word on TikTok is these days. I don't know. Go look up his stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on. This is awesome.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this. This is great.
Yeah. Spencer, tell us a little bit about the journey that got us to this point, and then we could talk about how we picked the movie.
I am, as you can see behind me, these are like some of my movies, some of my collection. I'm a huge collector. Like all collectors, look for a place to talk about collecting. And I think Shane, knowing that, was like, dude, I found a physical media dude on TikTok. I followed him. Go check him out. And I did, and it was Jared, and his stuff is awesome. And then I was like, you know what? Let's see if we can get him on the podcast. And you were kind enough to say yes. And then I was like, hey, I wonder if we can get me and Shane haven't seen one of your favorite movies. You sent me a list. We have a bunch of similar favorite movies, by the way, like quite a few.
So many.
And then I was like, I haven't seen Serendipity. Shane, have you seen it? We did this at the beginning, but then we watched Serendipity, which is a classic, I would say, that has been missed by me, at least in the rom-com sphere. So this was super fun.
Sure, yeah. I loved that, going through some of your episodes to see what other movies you guys had done, because I realized in sending my favorite movies, I was like, I have some rom-coms on there. And anybody who's watched my channel, my favorite movie of all time is You've Got Mail. So
yes,
which I found, that was the first episode I found of your guys. I was like, oh, these guys did an episode on You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle. So I was like, I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. No.
So that was great.
I am a rom-com diehard fan. I will do everything in my power to get everybody I am around to watch Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and About Time. Those are like the three I'm like, you have to watch them. If you haven't seen About Time, please watch About Time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You can't go wrong with any of those. Those are always like safe movies to like suggest to anyone if you're looking for, like, if somebody ever says like there are no good rom-coms these days, just give them any
trash.
Yeah. Hand them a stack of Blu-rays and
immediate movie red flag. Yeah. If you just cut a whole genre out and can't acknowledge that there are some well done movies in that genre, then you're just looking at film wrong.
Hey man, I agree.
100%,
There's something worthwhile, and that's kind of the whole point of this podcast. Is Shane and I are filmmakers, and we like to watch everything we can and learn and try to inspire ourselves with it. And so he's not the biggest horror guy, and I'm a huge horror fan. So I make him watch a bunch of those, and he makes me watch a bunch of musicals and rom-coms and stuff. And so it's awesome. It's the way to do it.
We love that. See, I was never a horror guy, but I've tried to broaden my horizons. And the last couple years I've tried to do the like 30 and 30 for October.
Yeah.
And just try to do like a wide variety of stuff. And it's been super interesting. I like coming at it of like, okay, here's a form of art that I don't understand and I would like to, and see the art form of it. And it's really fascinating when you take a section of film and you're like, I've never watched anything in here, or not much, I've watched horror movies before then, but to approach it like that, and you're like, I want to get with what the hype is about it, and find what I like about it. And it's such an interesting thing to like, I was like, there are a lot of great horror movies that I actually really like. And there are some that I don't, and that's okay, So I've always tried to just, in the last like 3 or 4 years, tried to broaden my horizons in film in general. But that was one I was like, all right. And then you're on TikTok. In October, everybody's watching horror movies and talking about it. So you're like, I want to get in on the fun, and so, which has been really fun. So
I mean, that's kind of my journey too.
My wife isn't watching with me, but.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's kind of my journey on horror too. All growing up with the biggest scaredy cat who ever lived. I couldn't do any of them. And then like my first semester of college, I like wrote a horror short, and then I was like, well, I have to watch them now. So I watched a couple, and then my friends tricked me into seeing Hereditary in theaters. And I was like huddled up with my buddy. We were like freaking out, and so I kind of dove off the deep end and have not looked back since. But I was the same way. I was like, nope, I'm good. And then finally I just like had to rip the Band-Aid off and watch everything I could find. Good stuff.
Oh, there you go.
But I guess sorry, go ahead, Shane.
So tell us a little bit about your journey with Serendipity. Like what made you put it on that list of your favorite movies originally?
I think, I mean, I grew up watching rom-coms all the time. Like that was just part of the movies we watched growing up. And so that was just one that stuck out to me over the years, because I think I like this element of, like rom-coms are great in of what it is, but I think I liked the element of like, there's this magical, not supernatural, but this magical kind of sense to love in the movie. And I was like, I just think that's kind of nice. And there's the play on fate and what that means with love. And the second thing though is I love what I call puzzle movies, where you have little clues and little things along the way in a movie. And this kind of does it in a different way, but I think an interesting way of the little signs that that are like fate, pushing them along or signaling to them. And I kind of like that aspect of this. I love horror, or not horror, I love murder mysteries. And so that also has little clues that you're following in a similar sense. So I love that aspect of it too. But
it's always I think Shane can attest. We watched Serendipity together. It's got so many of those moments where I lean forward and I'm like, but they were right there. Oh man, like we're so close.
literally.
Yeah. The funny thing was, I watched the director's commentary today, and he was talking about different moments where they had even more of those, and he was like, "Oh, that was too close," or "That was too much there," and they had to like separate it a bit. And so they were like talking about the play of how close do we make the close call, and how many times do they just barely miss each other, and I think they just do it in really creative and interesting ways of playing with, I guess, serendipity. That's what it is, and how you can just barely miss somebody, or that you just talk to this person, then they had just talked to this person, and I think that's what it does really interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love all those moments where it's like, she shows up at the golf range, and the camera guys are there, like his camera crew. It's like there's so many of those moments where there's no way that like she could figure it out, really, that like there's no reason that she would want to talk to this person, but as the audience, we're like on the edge of our seat, like, that's his camera guy, just say something, you'll find
like right
him
there. There's always that, and I think that's the interesting thing of like, to be in the audience, you're seeing all the little things before them. And you're like, and you see that, and I think that's just like a fun thing that they always show you before.
It creates such like an
really fun,
active watching experience. Like Shane can attest to this. Like I'm a leaner. I'm the guy leaning in at the movies. I all the time. But
exactly.
This was one of those ones where I wanted to like jump up and shout. Which like the only other time this has happened, I don't know if you've seen this movie, but Sorcerer. If you've seen Sorcerer, William Friedkin's.
Oh no.
Oh, great! One of the most like tense movies ever. And there's a sequence in it that's like infamous because of how intense it is. And I literally looked at him and I was like, holy freaking crap, dude! Like, I was like, I couldn't hold it in. I was so stressed out. And this had that, like, but in a very wholesome way.
Oh yeah, in a different way.
It's like a really sweet
Yeah.
tension. It's like
exactly.
you want the good thing to happen, and it's like right about to, and you just can't
Oh, yeah.
fully push it all the way there. Yeah, it has that like low level of tension with like these spikes throughout. That's like really good. It's like it adds a level of like edge of your seat kind of vibe that a lot of other rom-coms where it's like, no, why'd you say that? Like, you know what I mean? Like the tension comes
Yeah.
from conflict
Yes.
within the relationships, like, but the tension here is the fact that they're not together and we know they need to be.
It's
I think what adds to that too is there's like a countdown. The countdown in the movie is Jonathan getting married, and so there's this quite literally a ticking clock in some of the transition montages that you feel the urgency of figuring this out. And so there's certain moments where they figure out a clue and you feel the rush of like, you need to go now, you need to run. And so that always adds to the tension too of there's a ticking clock throughout the whole movie almost.
what I was gonna say, like, it reminded me a little bit, like, exactly what Shane was saying, like the tensions that they're apart. It's all, we're all everywhere else. It's all internal. It's all, please get together, right? That it reminds me a lot of Sleepless in Seattle in that way, where it's like this is a movie about people falling in love, but they're like very rarely together, which I think is a fascinating storytelling device, and I don't see that often. I feel like that's like ripe for another version, but I can't think of many movies where it's about love but from a distance.
Okay, the only other one, the thing that I thought about a lot during watching this was Past Lives.
Yep.
Jared, have you seen Past Lives?
Yes.
That was like my favorite movie from last year, and I was like, I kept thinking about like that, holding on to this feeling for this other person years after the fact, like knowing that what you have now is still great and still the right choice for where you are now, but there's also the right choice for where you could be. You know what I mean? Like, there's connective tissue there that I think is really fascinating. Like, I think it's like two ways of looking at the same idea. Like Past Lives is the like really reconnecting with that other person, with that past life that you had. Where this is so much about like the idea of the person, but that idea also actually being true, that they were the right persons. Like, it's like the Serendipity version is like a lot more kind of like fun and sweet, where Past Lives is a lot heavier and like darker is kind of the wrong word. But I had a similar thought process of like, man, this really feels like a lot like a different version of Past Lives. And I think Sleepless in Seattle is also a really interesting one to add in there.
Yeah, I think the similarities there being that in Past Lives you like both of the guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing like inherently bad about either of them. And 100%. It's the same way with Jonathan's current fiance, Hallie. Right. There is zero wrong with her, which kind of makes the whole thing a little conflicting, because you're like, she's really sweet. There's no like, as opposed to John Corbett's character, who is like, you're like, oh, it's super obvious they're not right for each other, and he's kind of a jerk, not really a jerk, but like just distracted, and she's not a priority. But like Hallie, his fiance, is just really kind of perfect, and sometimes I think sheds light on his faults because she is like so perfect. And the same thing. It's like both of them don't really have flaws, but you're almost forced as the viewer to kind of choose who you want him to end up with and why,
Yeah, it's okay. You mentioning that, we're just going down a rabbit hole of movies we think this is similar to. Have either of y'all seen Sweet Home Alabama?
I've seen like a bunch of chunks of it, but I haven't seen it like all the way through in a really long time. So I'm going to say kind of no.
I have. It's been a long time though. Yeah.
Long time for me too, but I remember like I watched it as like a freshman in high school. My dad was just like, "We're gonna watch Sweet Home Alabama." I was like, "Okay, father, sure." And he puts this on, and like when it ends, he's like, "What'd you think?" I was like, "I really loved that the love in like her like exactly this situation, her like current boyfriend or fiance, I can't remember, is not a jerk. He's like a really good guy, in fact. And then like he gets it at the end. Like he gets that she leaves him for this guy from her past. And I like as a high schooler, I was like, that is so unique and weird. And I think that's really cool. And I agree. This movie does that really well. Like the one thing they do to make you be like, is she all that good? Is when she's like a little mean to the super. You know what I mean? It's like, but that doesn't make me not like her. You know what I mean? Like it feels like an attempt, and then they were like, no,
There's, like,
she's just sweet. Like,
Yeah. Similarly, go.
I think the thing that makes it like okay for the audience is like you were talking about earlier, the kind of magical element. It's like no, but like the movie is telling me that John Cusack is making the right decision. You know what I mean? Where it's
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like why would he go with her? It's like, oh, it's because fate is telling him that is what he needs to do. Like, so that's like the way that it kind of makes it okay for that to be the right choice. It's like, no, the movie's telling me that's the right choice.
And honestly, the more you watch it, you realize the differences in Jonathan's character when he's with Sarah and when he's not.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's so much more likable and charismatic when he's with her than without her, you know? And then so you see the two couples together, and even though everything's perfect with Hallie, he isn't fully alive or fully himself when he's with her, even though everything's perfect. Yeah. There's still an element missing, you know, when you see them two together.
Yeah. It's like the head versus the heart. He's like, he knows that she is the right choice. Like she is perfect in all of these ways, but it's still not the correct choice, you know?
Yeah. Connecting it to another movie and in a different way, similarly to You've Got Mail, how you have two people who are both with significant others.
Yeah.
But the opposite in that movie of you clearly see the flaws of both of their significant others in that movie. And so it's very easy to root for them to not be with those two people.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just rewatched You've Got Mail the other day too. Like I after we watched Serendipity, I was like, you know what? You've Got Mail. Let's do this one too, baby.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I 100% agree. It's like, yeah, you see very much in contrast from this, you see those like utter flaws of both Tom Hanks' fiance, girlfriend, I can't remember where they are, then Meg Ryan's or Greg Kinnear's character in that. There's a lot of connective tissue between a bunch of other movies. That we could draw.
You could throw In the Mood for Love in there. Like you could, you know what I mean? Like if y'all have seen that, I don't know.
For sure.
I may have just made this way too pretentious. But well.
You're talking. You've Got Mail. You know, I actually haven't seen In the Mood for Love. That's one I need to.
In the Mood for Love is very good, but hey, You've Got Mail rules. I love that movie.
Best movie.
That's the movie I've probably seen the most out of any movie. I mean, I'm not joking when it's probably close to 100 times. I've watched it so many times.
It's like me with Rocky
rules.
4.
Oh, there you go. Everybody has to have one that you're just like, you know, you could just obsessively watch or put on at any time and never get sick of it. So
I'm trying to think what that one would be for me. Like I have seen National Treasure with my dad specifically like 800 times. And then but I think the movie that I've like put on for myself maybe the most in my life might be Ocean's 11. I think that might be my most repeated movie in my life.
No joke. Ocean's 11 is like top 5 all-time favorite movies for me.
I think it's one of the best movies ever made.
It's I could talk endlessly about that. So
we could just like screw it. Let's just make this about Ocean. We've already done it.
Just got the 4K steelbooks recently.
Let's go.
I saw your TikTok on that. I was very jealous. I was like, those are so cool.
Man, I'm one of those people. I don't buy a ton, like pre-order stuff and buy it brand new. I always try to get deals and get stuff used. But that one was just like, can't pass that up. Have to have it.
There are I just pre-ordered the not pre-order. I just got from pre-order the Crimson Peak Arrow Video box. It's so good. It's so cool. But yeah, I very rarely pre-order, and I've missed Steelbooks
awesome.
because of it.
Oh yeah, I think that's what I pre-order more than anything, is because I've missed out enough and had to get something on eBay or afterwards, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pre-order it now, just in case.
So I want to throw one thing, and I'm curious because I did a little bit of research on this with Serendipity. I thought I had watching the movie as I was like, okay, I don't quite know how old these characters are, but I want them to be younger. Like, I know you cast people, and so when I Googled that, I was like, how old are the characters in Serendipity? The conclusion was that they were the gap in between when they saw each other was supposed to be quite a bit longer, but audiences didn't buy how young they were in the first sequence. And so they were just like, take out all reference to it. It's like a year or however long exactly they say the time jump is. And I had that thought.
Yeah, I think in the director's commentary, he said it was originally supposed to be 10 years, but he said it wasn't believable for them to age that much, So
yeah,
because they don't look, any older.
Yeah, because that was my one thing. Is like watching it, I was a little bit like, oh, I feel really bad for these other two, more so her than him, but I was like, if they were younger, I would like understand this like idea of like, no, I'm rushed into this marriage or engagement or whatever a little bit. And I don't know if y'all felt that at all. But that was just something that was like permeating my consciousness. It was funny to like Google that to be like, I wonder if other people, and then immediately everyone's like, no, we already talked about this. You're fine. So yeah, I don't know. That was,
I don't think that crossed my mind. Honestly. I never really thought about that. But them being younger, I think younger naivete could add to more impulsive decisions to just leave the person that you've been with for that long. But I don't know. I still think it makes sense.
No, it still works. Yeah, not saying it doesn't work. It's just one of those thoughts I had. I was like, I'm curious how it would play if they were like 22 when they first met and then like 25 when they like reconnected. No idea. Just curious about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think you'd see more of their life change, whereas I don't think you see a lot of their surrounding differ between the time jump.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. Movies.
Movies.
I think you guys would.
What were you saying, Jared?
I think you guys as filmmakers would appreciate the director's commentary on this, because it's just the director and he just goes into so much detail about the actual like technical elements of, this kind of shot, and we used this was a set, and this was actually on location, and he talked about how all the whole open was reshot, and he was like, it's 10 times better because of the chemistry when they first meet, because we did it after everything else. We came back and reshot the whole opening, and how better their chemistry was, and how better the movie works when that chemistry is so strong in the beginning. And I thought that was fascinating. So I highly recommend going and listening to that, because he dives into a bunch of stuff like that.
That is fascinating. Yeah, the idea of matching the chemistry like at the end of a shoot versus at the beginning of a shoot, like that, those kinds of logistics, not only from just like cameras, people, that kind of perspective, but yeah, like that is really, really, really interesting to know that they shot it and they're like, no, it's not the same. Like we need to get this like as like the charisma as high as possible. And you can really feel that. You really feel that at the beginning of the movie. Like that connection really does feel that strong. That's really, really, really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense actually. So I was like, that's the nice thing about filmmaking. You just go back, and that's kind of where you need it, because you need to really feel that.
Oh yeah.
That's like the linchpin of the whole movie, is like you need to feel that spark, that magic there. And if you don't feel it there, you're not really going to believe the whole journey of the whole movie is them leading back together, so you kind of need to feel it there. So
Yeah, I
really
think of
100%.
Palm Springs, which is like I adore Palm Springs, like one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that opening is so charming, leading up to him getting hit with that arrow. That it's like, look, if I was in a situation and somebody got shot with an arrow, I have no clue what I would do. I would be like, this might be between y'all, I think, right? So you have to believe that she's like charmed by him, you know what I mean? And I think you're exactly right about that. It's like, which I think rom-coms have kind of mastered, you know, the meet cute, of course, but like just the idea of like taking a sequence and going, you believe these people have spent a couple hours with each other and they will think about each other for the next like huge chunk of their lives. And I think that's fascinating. I love stories like that. I love reshoot stories specifically because it's always interesting to hear like why it happened. I would be fascinated to see the footage from before, just to see like what it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see the difference. Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
And I think another part of it that I think works really well for that is the casting. Me and Spencer talked about this a little bit after the movie. Is like John Cusack is just so perfect because he can play such a charming jerk, like just a little bit. Like he's like this much of a jerk, and he's so good at it. You know what I mean? Like you still really like him, even though he's like just a little bit jerky. You know what I mean? Like
There's like this
plays that
quippiness he
so well.
has. Yeah.
Yes. And then
And
like we were talking about earlier with his fiance, it's like, you know, she is a really great person, and yet he's kind of leaving her out to dry a tiny bit. You know what I mean? Like in the world of the movie, like we know they're not right for each other, so it's like okay, but it's also okay because John Cusack is charming, and we know he's making the right choice. You know?
Yeah, he kind of tightrope walks that line between am I charming or am I kind of a jerk?
Yes,
But
exactly.
there are some wild things he says in that opening of just like that a man with another significant other says to another woman he's developing a crush on. Some of the lines he says to her are just wild.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh wow, we're just fully out there. You've known this one for a couple months, and we're just like throwing out stuff like, you know, what is he probably not out getting what does he say? Probably not out getting a crush on another man's girlfriend or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, all right. Suaving it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have somebody else at home, and then we meet her and you're like, you have her at home.
Yeah.
Kind of wild.
It's like, dude, you do too. Chill out, man.
Yeah, exactly. That the one where he like where I was like you said about her with the super, it's like him with the painter guy, the French guy, Mignon.
Yeah.
Where he's like he says how to say his name but continues to say Mignon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was like the one I was like, oh come on, man. Like he said how to say his name. Come on. That was the one where I was like, oh, it's a little jerky, but I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
hey, it's funny. It made me laugh. I couldn't help it. It was a good joke.
It was also interesting to go back to the director's commentary of how much John Cusack improvised. Like so many of the funniest, like kind of quippiness, it feels like to the character was just his natural improvisation. Like in the first like half of the movie, there's a handful of different like quippy little one lines he throws out. And he was like, yeah, that was improvised. Yeah, that was improvised. And it sounded like the movie originally was not as funny as it ended up being. And that over time, partially because of improvisation and partially just because of, changing the tone over time. But it was like ended up being a lot funnier than they originally intended it to be.
Yeah. That feels very accurate. Like,
Yeah.
that does not surprise me in the least. Like, John Cusack being John Cusack. It's like,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
got him on the mic, let him spit. You know what I mean? Like, just
Exactly.
let him do it.
100%. And I was like, how much of that character is just him, as opposed to a character, But when
Yeah.
you're hiring John Cusack, it's kind of what you're wanting.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can't have a movie not be funny when you are hiring Jeremy Piven and Molly Shannon to play
Yes.
the best friends,
I will go to bat for Molly Shannon to the day I die. If Molly Shannon has one fan, it's me. If she has no fans, I'm dead.
It's just everything that she brings to this is just like exactly the sounding board that Sarah needs in that, and it just like so much of the stuff she says is just hilarious.
100%. I completely agree. I love Molly Shannon so much. And
I don't know
like,
how we. Oh, go.
What were you saying, Jared?
I was gonna say I don't know how we feel about Jeremy Piven as a person. I'm not totally sure about that. He feels like he might be a controversial character, but I think he kind of steals the movie in a handful of spots here. Like some of his rants are just incredible.
My review for the movie on Letterboxd is this is a Jeremy Piven performance, because it really is. It is the most Jeremy Piven performance you could possibly imagine, in all the good ways and all the bad ways. Which he's a good actor, you know what I mean? Like he does Jeremy Piven very well.
Exactly. But being that he adds so much to that, and also has a really interesting kind of character arc. You know, with his own story and how he relates to Jonathan's story as he goes through that. So, which is kind of an interesting little arc that it adds to it, you know?
Well, if 100%. We're going to talk about scene stealing, Eugene Levy. Everything he did in this movie just worked for me. You must stay on that side of the line. You must stay on that side of the line. Dude, I have been there in my life, let me tell you. I've been like, nope, over there, please. Like... Oh, it's just everything he did.
That's a character everyone has met before.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I wasn't expecting him to like continue throughout the movie, right? Like when he goes and searches the warehouse with them, but he's like right next to it. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
He's like picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, good stuff.
Just
man.
in a total invasion of personal space and personal privacy, but it's kind of an interesting thing. You don't know it needs another character to go along with them, but how it bounces off is just.
And then his pop up right at the end was so welcome. I loved that.
Oh, so good, so good. I was not expecting that at all, and I'm very glad it was there.
Good stuff. Now. As we were hopping on the call, you had mentioned, like, right, Shane and I you sent us a list of movies. Shane and I picked this one out because it's one of the few that both of us hadn't seen. And then you were telling us right before. What were you telling us right before?
I was like, I think I threw that on like a favorite movies list quite a while ago. And I hadn't really revisited it in a long time. And not to say that the movie is bad. I think I really liked the movie. But I think revisiting it now, and maybe that's just because I've dove deeper into film over the past, 3 or 4 years, and I was like, I don't think I would call this one of my favorite movies anymore, but it's definitely one that's interesting to dive back into and to talk about also. There's so many things I love about it. But I was like, I think after this, I don't know that I would call it one of my favorite movies. I think I gave you a list of like 20. I was like, I don't know if I'd call that one of my 20 favorite movies, but still a good one nonetheless.
I'll tell you, I've had that exact experience with a movie that like I want to still love it. So in college, I was getting in this habit of reading. I would read a screenplay a week, and then I would watch the movie. Usually there were movies I had seen before, so I was like, I'd read the screenplay, see the differences, and then watch the movie and just kind of try to get better with writing and understanding screenplays and stuff. And I read 500 Days of Summer, and then I watched the movie, and I turned the movie off halfway through, where I was like, I loved this movie for so long, and now I don't know if I connect with it that hard. Like, look, I still admit it's a very good movie. I still admit it has some of the best like chemistry and not chemistry between two actors. There was something about it that like I almost feel like I like aged out of, and not like my age, but just in like where I am as a person. I need to rewatch it again and see if I've like aged back into it, because I have no idea. But like I've experienced that same thing. I mean, Shane showed me 500 Days of Summer. And I loved it, and so I bought a Blu-ray of it for like $5 and watched it like 4 more times, and then was like, I don't know if I'm into this anymore.
I love that movie very much, but it probably hasn't aged amazingly well. If you went back to it and you still didn't like it, wouldn't surprise me at all. I have a lot of like nostalgia for that movie, but that doesn't mean it's great, and that doesn't mean that what's the lead actor? I can't remember the character's name.
I can't Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his character is a lot. So like if that, I think we all have those movies where we really connected with an idea, connected with a way of telling a story, or even just a character that like we come back to 5, 10, 15 years later and we go, I don't think I connect the same way that I did then. And I think 500 Days of Summer is a wonderful example of that. But I mean, for a movie like Serendipity, it's like I could see why 5, 10 years ago you like loved it, and then why now like you may not feel the same way about it exactly. Like I know we have all those all of those movies on our own, but at the same time, like I'm still really glad we watched it. This has been a movie that I have had off on my rom-com list for a very long time that I just never really got around to watching. So like it may not be the best rom-com I've ever seen, but I'm definitely glad I've watched it. I mean, especially because there's so much connective tissue with so many of the other rom-coms that I love. So knowing this is kind of part of that lineage is definitely I'm glad to have seen it now.
Yeah, I think too with rom-coms, and Shane, I think you're married, correct?
Yes.
I think it's a different. I think you connect with certain ones differently after you're married.
Yeah.
I think I always identified with the like hopeless romantic in such a way of that unrequited love, for so long. And so to now be married and incredibly happy married, sometimes you just connect with things differently,
Yeah.
And then I realize, I think I look at a movie like this a little bit more of the like, oh, you're in a committed relationship, and then you're kind of like flirting around with this other woman while you're in a committed relationship. I think those are the things that like come up to me now, and I point out to me now, because you're always constantly putting yourself in the main character's point of view, and you're like, what would I do in that scenario? I definitely wouldn't definitely wouldn't go out to frozen hot chocolate with her and say some of the things that he said and touch her arm and draw on her arm and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's wild to do when you have a girlfriend back at home. I was like, when absolutely not. So I think sometimes because you're a different person and placing yourself in the main character's POV, you look at things differently because of where you're at in a different place of life.
I think I heard it described as like emotional cheating, and I think there's like an air of truth to that, right? Like it's very charming, it's very sweet, and I do think that there's this element of like, I think we talked about it a little bit of like, oh, there's this thing that's more right for me that everyone will be more happy with. And but I do think there is that element of like, oh, I think the review I read was from my like aunt, I think, and she's like, oh, emotional cheating, the movie is so early 2000s, and I was like, whoa, what an intense thing to say.
That's strong, but also a little
there's
true.
some truth,
but kind of not wrong, it's real.
But it's still like in the biggest compliment I can pay this movie is I had those thoughts and I had those feelings, but it still charmed me. You know what I mean? It still did the one thing a rom-com has to do, which is charm me, and it did it. By the end, I was like, I'm happy for those kids. It's a good good time, man. Good time.
I think the other thing that like really actually like makes that work for me in a way that like I think if it were a slightly different movie, that would bother me a lot more. Is again like the movie is telling me that this is the right choice. Like there is some omniscient fate that is pushing them towards this, that it isn't just him emotionally cheating and finding somebody else. It's like, no, fate needs this to happen. And if that weren't the case and it was just like him feeling like the grass is always greener, okay, this is a much darker movie. But because the movie is like, no, like the world will bring you back together when you need to be together, that makes it more okay for me. But I think the maybe the problem with that is people seeing that as an endorsement to do that in your own life, and that is not what this movie is at
Yeah.
all.
Sure,
Well,
exactly, yeah.
and I think just to add, a little bit to that point, it's like even after he's given up and like he's like, no, I'm gonna marry her. That's what I'm supposed to do. Even after he's made that decision, there's another like the biggest sign. You know what I mean? Like it is.
Yeah.
I do think you're right. The movie.
He's still checking.
Yeah.
He's still checking the books. He's still checking the books. Gets engaged. He checks that book every single time. You could tell he has a history with that book, to the point, obviously, that she buys him the book as a gift. So I'm like, he has a history with that book. He has never forgotten that.
Right.
Good stuff. I mean, like for as complicated feelings I think all three of us have on this, I do like this movie and I would watch it again. You know what I mean? Like I'm fascinated to watch that director's commentary. That sounds super interesting.
Honestly, yeah.
It's really interesting. He goes into so much technical details of how he did certain shots, and certain people that did this.
I love like
really cool.
every director's commentary I listen to is like one or the other. I feel like it's either all technical or all like, so this is what we did, like this is what I said to them on set, or this is how we did the script, or this is whatever. I like the ones that kind of flow where he's like, oh, the chemistry wasn't working in that opening scene, so we reshot it at the end and it worked. Like that kind of stuff. That's where I love. That's what I love to find out about. Because that's like the weird stuff you don't talk about.
We're not just telling stories, Yeah. And you could tell it's also really funny because I think he adds a level of legitimacy to the movie because he has a very proper British accent, and he sounds like a very serious filmmaker. So if you took this movie as just kind of a cheesy rom-com and then you hear him talk about it, he is very serious about his
I love it.
filmmaking. And so you're like, oh no, I'm taking this seriously. This guy is legit,
I love that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Serendipity? Any other things we want to cover? Favorite moments, things that haven't held up, stuff like that. Anything else, you guys?
I think the ending was what I was like, even watching during the movie and having my doubts towards the middle, revisiting it now. I was like, that ending still hits. Like, it's still, that feels magical. The Nick Drake needle drop with the song, and it's just like, you're like, if you had any doubts, you're just like, oh no, it's all coming full circle. It's all coming together. It's perfect. So
I literally said out loud, I was like, dropping the Nick Drake. I love it.
yeah, exactly.
And I think we've all been there where we just get so sad we're just gonna sit somewhere for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a relatable.
And the shot that like pans around him.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. And then it gets to where you can see her standing there. It's just, it's a really great shot.
Yeah.
So they
that
tailored
sequence hits so hard. Yeah. That really does. It does feel magical. Like it really does. I had seen that somewhere else. It was like, it was a compilation somewhere. I can't remember where. I've seen it before and I was like, oh, okay. I know it. I understand why that was not only in that other place that I had seen it, but also like the effect that it has within this movie it hits hard.
Good stuff, man.
I think some of the reveals are some of my favorite parts of the movie too. Of that reveal of the groomsman gift, that he gives her the book in a time where it feels like he's given up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the most clear sign. And just how they play that,
it's so
I think is
sincere,
incredible.
man. It's so sincere.
Yeah.
And he's not like overjoyed. He's not like doesn't have this. He has this very internalized reaction, and which is perfect when he gets together with Jeremy Piven's character, and they're in the taxi, and he shows it to him, and he has the more like bigger reaction, and he's just really calm and collected about it. And I was just like, oh, that's so interesting way to just be like, drop the biggest clue, the biggest fate sign. And he just is like, so kind of at peace with the fact that of like, oh, I know this is what it's supposed to be, and he's very calm and collected about it. And I was just like, oh, that's such an interesting way to play that scene. And it just plays so well, which builds up to the heartbreaking, that is played so well, and then the heartbreaking tumble down once he actually goes to the house and sees the other couple and thinks it's her.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like when he opens the book and he sees it, he's like, damn it, she's right. Like, fate is real. Like, I don't have a choice in this. Damn it. Like he's almost like reserved in the idea of like, all right, the choice has been made for me, which I think is a really interesting way of doing it.
And that it literally comes from Hallie, like his fiance.
Yes.
That it comes from her feels like even more of a fate's sign of approval in this direction,
100%.
Which a great reveal in the same way is the reveal of whether the wedding happened or not.
Yeah.
I think how they played that was like, again, that tension, that there's a great tension leading up to that. And then that whole dialogue with her and the like janitor guy there, and then the finding out, like, oh no, you'll get your gift back. It just like how that's done is just like such this sigh of relief of like, oh man. So another way that tension is played. So
the screenwriter who wrote "Don't worry, you'll get your gift back" was sitting there with the flaming pen, just like, I got him.
He just like drops it.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go.
Like, oh, that's so good.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
that's written on his wall somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like framed.
He's got that. He has that. He has that line tattooed on his arm with like the rest of the scene.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like folding chairs.
Yeah.
That line, something like that.
That's a good idea.
Man, that'll actually be a sick tattoo.
There you go. That's not bad.
Oh, good stuff, man.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that like really stood out besides that.
Yeah, I for me, I think, like I said, like the moment I related to him is when he just like sat on the ice or the skate rink at the time and just like laid there. I was like, I've been there in my life where I'm just like, I'll go for a walk and I'll sit down for a second and I just am like, I'm going to just sit here for like an hour. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, the universe will tell me if I need to get up.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
exactly. I'm all out of things to do. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. You're just like thinking through everything. I thought that was like such a good human moment, and I love like exactly you said that how they play the book reveal, where it's like it peels back everything you think you. I think of the moment in Top Gun Maverick. When he jumps out her window and it feels like he fell out the window and he's like laughing because it's funny, and then he looks up and he sees her and you're like, oh, this is funny, she saw him, they were trying to avoid it, and then she's like, don't break her heart, and it is no longer funny anymore. It is now deeply emotional, which is I think one of the most well-crafted moments in that movie, and that movie's incredible. But it's the moments like that where you can like trick an audience into being like, oh no, okay, right? Like that's my favorite thing. I love that.
Yeah, there was again. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to the director's commentary because I love it. There's when they're in the elevators towards the beginning, and they're going back and forth. He comments on how like whimsical the score is, and he talks about the point where you realize that she's given up and that she's going to leave. He's like, you can hear that it's almost like the band that's doing the score. They realize that the scene is no longer funny and they back out. And he's like, you can hear that in the score. And I was like, oh man, that is really cool. Like you're not changing the song or the tone. It's just a handful of the orchestra just pulls out because they realize the tone has changed.
Oh, that's good stuff,
and I was
man.
like, oh, that's such a fascinating little like way to shift the tone and shift a scene. It's just change the music just a little bit,
That is good stuff. I love a director's commentary.
Movies.
Yeah. I mean, that's why physical media is the best. It's like little things like that just take a movie from this to this and understanding
hey man,
10 other things about it.
I think that's the transition point right there. Let's talk a little bit about collecting. So I'm now realizing this is kind of the first time I've talked to another like collector. Because I think, Shane, you have a collection, but I don't think you go out and get the most expensive version or anything like that. Like, I like behind me, I have like the John Wick super set. I already own John Wick on Steelbook. Why did I need that I don't know, because I wanted it. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I want to ask,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
how
yeah,
how
yeah.
long exactly have you been collecting?
Yeah. I think I I think I always had a few movies, lying around kind of thing. And I don't think it was until like 2021 maybe that I started to like, oh, I'm going to buy a little of this, buy a little bit more of this. And then it wasn't until like getting on TikTok and you fall down the wormhole of other people collecting movies and you're like, oh, frick, this is cool. Like, this is awesome. And then you're like, oh, look at this packaging. And then I fell in love with steelbooks. And so I have, that's been the thing I collect a ton of. And I'm like, and then I, went down the wormhole. I told myself I was not going to collect VHS. And then that did not happen. And the whole other side of my collection is all VHS. And then I have a whole other one sitting right here too that has VHS in it also.
That was gonna be my follow-up question. is
yeah,
the VHS?
Exactly. I think I just saw other people collecting, and you just see like, I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like you start to see it. Like there's art to this. There's, people that are making really cool packaging, and there's alternate artwork, and there's, all this stuff that you're just like, oh, the movie is awesome. And I love the fact of physical media that you can own the film. It's never going to be taken away from you. It's not going to be changed. You have it in an incredible quality, best sound, But then there's all the special features, and then there's the packaging, and there's all this stuff that there's so much put into making it more than just the singular film that I think it just love about it. And it's like an art form and a community. There's like a community aspect to it that I have loved, and getting into that. And
yeah, man.
Hearing about things from other countries and what they have that we don't in the U.S.
I'm so scared because I know I'm going to start importing at some point, and I don't want to do it. Umbrella is tempting me, man. Umbrella is tempting me.
Oh, it's so real.
Oh no, we're getting into the show and tell aspect.
I think some stuff it's like, I love the steelbooks because there's different artwork on there than you would get in the normal movie, and then you get into let me look at stuff that has like cool slip covers, like Jaws. It's got lenticular slip cover on it,
Yeah.
Stuff like that where there's just people putting a lot of time and effort into creating something that's more than just a disc you put in and you watch a movie. Because people, we've heard for years that physical media is dying and everything's digital. But I think the positive that has been these distributors and people that are putting out physical media are making it more of a collector's item, making it more of a thing where you're not just buying a disc that has the movie on it. We're getting special features. We're getting cool artwork. We're getting all these things that make this package that you're purchasing worth purchasing, and it's so much more than just to watch a movie.
Yeah, man. I like a recent purchase I got. Let me see if I put it back yet. Where is it? Right here. Recent purchase I got Clue. It's Clue, man. It's like the best. You know what I mean? But it's the packaging and then the crazy special features, the 4K with like a restoration that's like really good. You know what I mean? Like you can tell they didn't just cash grab, throw it together, and put a bunch of DNR on it and stuff. They really went through and like preserved the film, and I think that's awesome. But the boutiques I think has always been kind of the future. Your Criterion, your Shout, Arrow, Umbrella, all those ones, man. Like, but for me, it's like this. I miss. I'm wearing a Blockbuster shirt. I miss that like browsing thing. Like I discovered Jaws on accident at a Blockbuster. Me and my cousin were like walking through with my aunt and uncle or whatever, and we were like, oh, we want to rent a movie. And it's like, what's this shark movie? And they're like, oh, that's Jaws. They're not being movie people. They're like, Jaws is good. You can rent Jaws. And we did, and it like transcended and changed my life and is now one of my favorite movies ever, right? Like, I miss that, and you don't have that anymore with like nothing about like a digital screen like activates curiosity. I think digital is great for like you know you like this movie, or you know you want to have access to this movie. You can catalog it on, like, I know, Shane, you have like a Plex server that's like really built out and really awesome. But it's like you're not just dumping everything on that to then watch at some point. You know, you're cataloging it to you. And I think like that's where digital is at its best. And I don't just buy willy-nilly everything, but I do like blind buying. Like every Criterion sale, I always will get like one thing I haven't seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, it's about exploration. It's about going out and like looking at a cover and being like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of this. And then you look it up and you're like, that sounds amazing. I'm going to watch I Saw the Devil tonight and regret it deeply later. But you know what? You do it, man. You do it. You gotta.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's the great thing sometimes about physical media, even now. It's like you have all those other things that are telling you what this is about, and you can like buy a movie just because it has cool packaging, and that's the doorway to get you to watch that movie, is because it caught your eye, because it looks cool. Or, you know, a movie poster, even on digital, you get a movie poster that looks interesting, and you're like, oh, I'm going to take another look at that because that poster looks cool, you know? So there's always those kinds of things that are like opening your eyes to something new. And man, so much of my collection, I'm a little ashamed to say, there's a lot of movies that I have never seen before that I buy because I'm like, either know I like, or I know I want to watch. And a lot of I have a lot of blind buys, but it's all stuff that I'm like, I know the day I finally watch that movie, I have it right there and I won't have to search for it. So it's right there. So,
I mean, Spencer mentioned In the Mood for Love earlier. That was like my second or third Criterion movie I ever bought. Still haven't watched it. I have the disc. It's been sitting on my shelf for literally a year or two at this point. Still haven't watched it.
Yeah.
So I think I have a small collection too. I do not have nearly as extensive as either of you two. But that is one that has been sitting on my shelf for quite a bit that I definitely will get around to, damn it. But it's just not today, I guess.
That's been so much of my film journey over the past 3 or 4 years, is just like I've missed out on a ton of movies. Like, it's embarrassing, and it's become my thing of when I got on TikTok and when I was started talking about movies. It was just the fact that like I had seen so many movies and yet I had not seen so many movies at the same time. And so part of it was when I got on Letterboxd, I started going through and logging every movie I can think of that I had watched. And it was like 1,100 at that point. And I was like, and I got on TikTok and I was like, hey, I'm getting, you know, I'm Jared. I love movies. I collect movies, but there's a bunch of movies I haven't seen. So I'm going on this journey to kind of dive into those. And I put some of the movies on there, and people were like, how have you seen 1,200 movies and you've never seen The Godfather? How is that possible? And I was like, brother, look at the list of movies that I have seen and you'll understand why. It is all rom-coms and Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell movies, because that's what I grew up on. And good, bad, or indifferent, that's what I grew up on. And it's been challenging myself to look at movies that I normally wouldn't, and to dive into stuff and watch stuff that I probably never would. But that's why I love stuff like TikTok and the community there, is you hear people talk about movies that you've heard about, but you never really heard about, you know? And so somebody dives into why they love a movie, and then you're like, oh, cool, that sounds awesome. I never knew that about this movie. I want to check it out even more now, you know? And that's been such a cool journey to be on, and of like challenge myself to like, oh, I you know, broaden my horizons to look at, you know, people like, you know, filmmakers I never would watch. I probably wouldn't have watched 5 years ago black and white movies or foreign movies. And that's been different things where I'm like, I'm going to challenge myself. Like, I want to watch this movie because people talk about it. Everybody loves this. Let's see if I'll love it too, you know? Hey. And it's just so fun.
Man, I went to film school with people who don't watch black and white movies and foreign films. And I'm like, because you get that all the time. It's like, how have you not seen it? Right? I agree. It's like, because there's like hundreds of thousands of movies, guys. Like, at a certain point, you can't watch them all.
Exactly.
But yeah, so
I was like, my parents never watched The Godfather. That's why I didn't watch it. You
right.
know? None of my friends in high school liked Godfather. and so that's why I never watched it.
Yeah, there's a funny Bill Hader tells a story where he's like in high school and he walks in and his friend is like, man, I remember this time in high school, because they were in Tulsa for whatever reason, because that's where he's from. I don't know. But he's like, I remember this time you came in and you watched Agira Wrath of God and it like affected you, man. Like, and he's like, I can imagine that was me in high school. I was walking in like, I just saw whatever, Inglourious Bastards, and I was like, whoa. But no, I'm that pretentious film nerd. Like, I was just like, this movie's life changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to ask, you have every Adam Sandler movie on VHS, correct? Or that was released on VHS?
Oh, yeah. I want to see if I can turn this, and it is over here. I don't know if you could see that, but all of them up here. Oh, that's also You've Got Mail Laserdisc. Hello.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them. I grew up on just everything Adam Sandler growing up. So that was one I was like, I started collecting more and more VHS, and I just happened to have a lot. And I was like, wait, which one, where does it stop? Yeah. And I was like, okay, Longest Yard. And I was like, okay, I don't have that many more I need to get. So it just became that like collecting goal for me. I was like, all right, I'm getting them all. And I just love stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
But that Adam Sandler is just somebody that I think eventually I'll go on the journey to like watch everything he's in. Because there's a lot I
was going to say, expansive. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think you guys know Seth reviews films.
I don't know if I know Seth.
TikTok.
No.
He's a British guy. He did that, and he did the whole thing. And I was like, he did everything of like Hotel Transylvania and all that. the voice acting he did and stuff too. I was like, I don't know about that, but I would definitely love to. That's something I still have yet to dive into with my wife, is more Adam Sandler, and I probably should. I've seen a few things, but then there's like the nether tier of like, okay, here's The Wedding Singer, here's
Wedding Singer.
She's probably seen Wedding Singer, but then I'm like, okay, here's Abby Gilmore, here's Big Daddy, here's Billy Madison, and then go in a little deeper into it of like, here's my childhood.
Happy Gilmore is my all-time favorite Adam Sandler. That's top tier. That and like Wedding Singer, just like ever so slightly below it. Those are my two top Adam Sandlers.
I grew up, my dad's Canadian, so I grew up around a lot of hockey, and so that just kind of came around at the perfect time. It was like that, and then Mighty Ducks growing up. Yeah. It was just like, being in a hockey household, those were just like the perfect movies for our childhood.
I was going to say, not Adam Sandler, but you've seen Miracle with Kurt Russell, I'm assuming.
A long time ago. Yes,
oh, dude, I watched it recently.
It's been a long time.
I think it might be the best hockey movie. There's not a ton of hockey movies, but it might be the best one. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That is a great story, You gotta love a true sports story,
Okay,
Russell too.
Last physical media question I'll ask you. Do you have a count? Like, do you know how many movies are in your collection? Or are you scared to, like me? I always do it when people ask, and then I like don't write it down. I'm like, I don't need to remember that number.
I am scared too. I have an app that I want to catalog everything because it helps when I'm traveling and I'm shopping to know if I have something or not. I have a pretty good memory, but I've bought in duplicates of stuff before, so. To try to not do that, I would like to catalog everything. I've gone through and I kind of reorganized everything a couple weeks ago, and I kind of rough like this section is so many and gone like that, and it's probably in, I don't know, somewhere around 800. Something like that. I don't know.
You're beating me, man.
I feel like it's more than that, but I'm gonna lowball and say that.
Mine is mine's in the low 700s, not including my 2-watch pile, which doesn't go on my. I use a spreadsheet to catalog everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
heck
so
yeah.
I don't catalog it till it goes on my shelf, and it doesn't go on my shelf till I watch it for the most part.
Oh, okay.
And
There you
so
go.
yeah, so it's in I'm in the low 700s right now, you know.
I have a
y'all
lot of
know?
stuff in the so I have a lot of stuff in the collection that I haven't seen. I do has a separate pile of like I don't know if I want to watch this, but I don't know if I'll like it, and I still even have that separate pile of like I need to watch it before it goes in the collection. But
Yes,
there's still
yes.
plenty in the collection I haven't seen. So we have both.
Do y'all know what your most valuable piece is? Like most valuable, whether it's a collection or it's an individual piece. Do you know what your most valuable one is?
For
It's a good
for
question.
a stretch, mine is not a Blu-ray, but a comic I bought. I bought the when James Gunn was announcing all the DC stuff. I bought the first book in Grant Morrison's Batman, like the first compendium. I bought it for $45. Checked 3 days later, and it was like $300 because it had sold out, and everyone was trying to get a copy. Now it's gone back down. I missed my opportunity to resell, which I should have done, and then just bought it again for $45 more. Like, but yeah, that for a while, for a stretch, it was
stuff like
that.
that. Collecting is like sometimes collecting is like the stock market. You're like, I'm going to sell this now, and
Yeah.
I'll come back to it another day,
Yeah.
you know, at a lower price.
Right.
That's a great question. I was trying to think. I honestly don't know. I do have. I just got the Scream 2 4K Steelbook, which I think is it brand new sealed. I think is like kind of up there. That might be which I got it for like 45.
I missed out on that one. I didn't get the Scream. I got the Scream one. I have Scream and Scream 6, but I didn't get the Scream 2 Steelbook.
Those are nice. Those have been my like trying to get all of the 4K ones that they do have. But yeah, I just got that one. That one's probably up there. There's some that I've gotten and I've just never really like dove into like how much they're actually worth, if they're worth anything. I don't have a lot of like import stuff, but one I did get was the Gentleman Steelbook.
Oh,
Ooh.
And is
Oh, cool.
I think is like a German release. I think that's one of the few like foreign non-US steelbooks that I have. And I got that used from somebody for like $20 at some point. So
Oh, sick.
stuff like that is always fun. Some stuff I'm just like if I like it, I'll keep it, and if I got it for a good price, great. And then there's some stuff that I've bought in like big chunks of people's collection before for really cheap, and then they're like, and I was like, I don't know what this is worth, but I paid $2 for it. So
Yeah.
I do need to go through
we're
mine
great. I'm
and,
always
and
a-
find stuff that, because I'm sure I have a Steelbook that's worth a decent amount. I don't think anything crazy. One that I have that might be going up is this Friday the 13th box set, which it's like right now it's not. I got it on a really good sale, but it's going out of print. So there's a chance that one will go up quite a bit, which that's like an incredible set, a great set. I've only seen a couple of the movies, but
yeah, I was going to
with
ask
that,
you. I was going to ask you about that because I was like, I've watched the first two consecutive Octobers, and I can't get on board with it.
hey,
I was just like,
here's what you
I was
got to
like,
do.
the first time I was like, I don't. Tell me.
Friday the 13th is the worst one. It's the worst slasher franchise. It just is. Jason is not all that interesting.
Yeah.
The kills are okay. What you got to do is you got to watch Freddy versus Jason, because that movie is insane and awesome. Like, it is like pulp insanity, but in like the absolute best way. Like, why aren't we doing a bunch of that? Why hasn't the Predator fought the apes from Planet of the Apes? Why hasn't like Ghostface fought whoever? Let's put Ghostface in Ready or Not and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want.
Hey, I think we're cooking.
Hollywood,
there.
call us.
We're remaking everything. That seems to be the thing. Remake, sequel. What we need is more crossover.
Yes.
I mean, there was talk at some point of Jurassic Park and Fast and the Furious crossing over.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happened to that? Come on, Universal.
The one that
going.
Shane and I always talk about was Men in Black and Jump Street. We're gonna do a crossover.
Oh, there you
Would
go.
that not be the best ever?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
wish it would
been
happen.
digging into. I watched the first two Bad Boys movies,
Yeah.
which I've never seen before. I watched them this week, and I'm like the endless possibility to have those two cross over with some other, whether it's other cops and some other franchise or not. But I think there's a lot of potential there. That could be great.
I'm on board with that 100%. That would be
here for it.
awesome.
Crossovers, guys. 2024 or 2025 is going to be the year of crossovers. That's what we need. Let's push for it.
So
That's
in
what we
on
need.
that.
That's what we need.
Well, in the name of expensive Blu-rays, I have a wonderful game prepared for us. Let me get it going on the screen. Can both of you see this?
Let's go. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
This is a game I like to call The Cost is Correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an active eBay listing for a Blu-ray, and you're going to try to guess the price of the Blu-ray as close as possible. Whichever of the two of you can guess it closer will win the point without going over. So you have to guess the price and see if you're right in this game that I'm calling The Cost is Correct.
Nice. Love it.
Let me show you the first movie. So this is the first physical media. Some of these will be DVDs, some of these will be shows, some of these will be box sets, but the first one is The Real Ghostbusters, the complete series, DVD 2008. This is a 25 disc set. Jared, since you are our guest, I'm going to make Spencer go first because it's always harder to go first on
Okay.
on The Cost is Correct rules. So Spencer, how much do you think this costs?
I've never seen this or heard of this, so my guess is gonna be, let's go $75.
$75. What is your guess, Jared?
Yeah. I'm gonna say $49.99.
And the price is $750.
Wow.
All right, so we were wrong.
Okay, so Spencer,
boy.
you won that one since you were closer without going over. You were just an order of magnitude wrong.
Literally add a zero, and I would have been
wild.
right. But sheesh, man.
So
actually, yes.
that's the animated series, huh?
Yes, yeah, this is the old school
wild.
like animated television series, and the DVD box set goes for $750 on eBay.
And
All
it's
right.
brand new sealed. Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
brand new sealed. I think that is part of the reason why it is so expensive. And it's like a
probably
cool
part of it,
box
yeah.
set too. It like opens up and it's like the actual Ghostbusters like
Ecto Trap.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next one. The Killer, the Criterion Collection DVD specifically. Spencer, since you got that one right, Jared, will you give me your guess?
Okay, let's go. Free shipping. You got to look at that because that's going to give you your price.
I'm not good at shipping in this.
All right. I was like, I'm looking at that. I was like, okay, let's go. I can't remember if this is like that rare or not.
It is rare.
It is rare. Okay. Let's go. 45.
Spencer,
I'm
what's
going
your guess?
150. I think it's 150.
And the price is $159. Very
my
close,
gosh.
Spencer. Super close without going over. So Spencer, you are 2 for 2.
The first one definitely doesn't count because I
lowballing
was
here.
so wrong.
No. Hey, it's the what was the name of the show that The Cost is Correct rules. So you were technically correct. That's all that matters. All right, and the next one is
Would you ever buy something for $160 and it's a stock photo of it? That's the
Oh,
question.
Not a
no,
chance.
there's no
No.
world I would buy this.
eBay red flag right there, you know?
Huge.
I need the
red
picture
flag.
of the item and today's newspaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
And the next one is Kung Fury sealed Kickstarter exclusive. So this is very rare. Spencer, since you got that one correct again, kick us off, Jared. What do you think the price is?
Let's go 135.
And Spencer?
I'm just gonna go 100. The Kickstarter thing's throwing me here.
All right, Jared, you got this one. It's $1,000.
Wow.
All right, hold on.
It is a Kickstarter exclusive signed director's copy. I don't even know if Kung Fury is in print on Blu-ray. Like this is specifically for like Kickstarter backers, and this was like before Kickstarter was popular. So I understand why this one is as
I
rare
believe it is directed by a guy named David Sandberg. Not David F. Sandberg of Shazam fame, but
Oh, I was so confused. I was like, he did not direct that.
Absolutely wild.
Absolutely wild. Okay, and the next one is it's kind of a funny story on DVD from 2010.
This is a great movie.
It's a great one. Jared, you got that one correct. So Spencer, give me
I
your
feel
guess.
like you're tricking me. I'm gonna go $20. There's no way this is that rare.
I don't know.
I'm going to go $3.99.
All right, Jared, you got it. It is $6.49. All right, I had to throw a curveball. I had to throw a curveball in there.
I was trying to see if I have that. I was like, I have it somewhere.
It's a really
And I
good
was
one.
like,
I
yeah,
haven't seen it in
that's-
so long. I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I was like, DVD. I was like, that movie, no, not rare.
All right. We have got Hellraiser, the Scarlet Box. This 4-disc box. This one is rare. Jared, you got it right. So Spencer, give me a guess.
Slightly cheating because I have looked into this. Now it has been a long time because I love the Hellraiser movies and I wanted this for a long time. There's a 4K one now. I'm going 300.
Okay. And Jared?
I'll go $230.
And the price is $225. Such a great guess.
Fantastic,
All right.
dude.
So close.
Absolutely.
All right.
Insanely
I'll take the
close.
moral victory there, even though I don't get the point. That's
Oh no. You
pretty
get the
close.
point because you didn't go over. You guessed 230, correct?
It's 220.
Oh, that's over though.
Oh, it's 224. I can't count. Don't listen to me. You were so close though. Oh my god, I want to give you the
I'll
point,
take
but
it. Oh,
hey
it's
man.
close. Yeah, it's all right.
All
That's
right.
hilarious.
Next one. This is the Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set with the limited edition poster.
Which mine doesn't have.
I do believe that. Yeah, and I think that makes this even more rare and valuable. Spencer, what did you guess? Did you win that one last time?
I went
Spencer,
over.
or did you
I
guess
guessed
over?
300.
Yeah, we
Okay,
both
well,
went
since
over.
Jared is our guest on the podcast, Spencer,
with
you-
the
you
posters.
start.
I'm gonna guess on this one 350.
And Jared?
I'll go $250.
And the price is $375. What an amazing guess, Spencer.
What do you think it is without the posters? Like what you have? What's the difference?
Because I don't know if mine's out of print. Because Scream Factory does that where they'll have like just I think a lot of their releases, especially the box sets, get these posters, and then they only make like 150 of them. You know what I mean? And then after that, it's the box set just without the posters.
Gotcha,
So I got mine like way late.
Gotcha, okay.
I think that's the difference. Mine is probably worth $100, but that's not much. That's probably a little less than the retail price. I bought mine for like 75 because it was on a crazy sale.
$275 posters.
Yeah.
Those are good posters.
Hey, man, I bet they're great
Get it.
posters.
I get it though. I get it.
All right. Next one, we have the Blu-ray, the complete Scream collection with mask, sealed box set. Spencer got this one the last one correct. So Jared, what is your guess?
Oh.
So I think this only includes 1 through 4.
1 through 4. Okay. 1 through 4. Canada. I don't know if that plays into it at all. Let's go. I'm going to go 179.
And Spencer?
215.
And the price is, it is $387. So it's $529 Canadian, $387 US.
Wow.
It's so cool though.
Yep.
Like,
Wow. Kind of awesome though.
It's really cool.
Awesome.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Who guessed higher on that one?
I did.
You guys are. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we have the History of Beavis and Butthead screener promo VHS. Spencer, since you got that one, Jared, give me your guess on this one.
Okay. I feel like I'm lowballing so many of these, so I'm going to go, especially a screener promo of it too. Let's go 230.
And Spencer?
200. I'm going 200.
And the price is
Holy
$675.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of these are absolutely bonkers. How much people are asking for these.
Man.
How rare these are and how much people can ask. It's crazy.
It's wild. Wild.
All right. Next one, we have Hellraiser Deader, out of print Blu-ray from 2004. Spencer, what is your guess?
I don't even know if I know about this movie. I'm going to go 125.
And Jared?
I'm going to go 70.
And the price is
Holy-
$350.
Whoa.
It's
Wow.
ridiculous. I need y'all to start guessing higher because these prices are insane.
We're the collectors. We should know
I
this.
keep feeling like there's going to be a drop off. I know. Wow.
It is truly ludicrous how expensive some of these are, or how much
Wild.
people are like asking
Yeah.
for these.
Yeah.
All right, we've got the Dragon Ball Z box set. This is the what is it? The I can't remember. They have
The
like
Dragon
a
Box.
specific name. The Dragon Box. Thank you.
Okay.
So the
of
complete
this.
collection. It's sealed. It also comes with the Katana Collector Protector. This is very expensive. I'm just going to lay it out there. So guess a big number. Jared, what is your guess?
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with 3,000.
Spencer, what is your guess?
2,000.
It's $9,000.
Oh!
It's ridiculous.
Oh,
Look,
wow.
this was the only one on eBay that I could find that was the complete set. Every single other one on eBay currently listed is just 1 or 2 or 3 of the sets. This is the only one with all of it, and it's all mint in box. And like it's yeah.
Wow.
Dragon Ball
incredibly
Z's
rare.
story of physical media is crazy. There's like 45-minute video essays on it. This shocks me that it's that much. Wow.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Man.
Okay, now we've got the presentation confrontation. I'm going to show you a showcase of things, and there will be a showdown between the two of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 10 items all in a row, and you have to tell me how much you think all of them combined are worth. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So if you need a pad and pencil or you need to take a note on your phone, I will show you each of them individually, and then on the last screen I'll show you all of them together, and then you just give me a number that you think that collection, that this entire presentation is worth. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And same rules apply, so you have to guess the closest to the number without going over. Okay. First one is the Monkees Blu-ray box set with special features and the vinyl record. Next, we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 1 Blu-ray box briefcase. Next, we have the Star Wars Clone Wars Complete Seasons 1 through 5 Collector's Edition. We have Battles Without Honor or Humanity, the complete collection on Blu-ray, the Arrow video. Next, we've got Murder, She Wrote, the complete TV series with like bonus features on DVD. Next, we have Scream Complete Collection Sealed. This is Screams 1 through 4, and I'm pretty sure it's an Australian copy. There's also a weird thing with the box where it's like if you press here, it'll make like a scream sound, I think. So there's that. And then we've got Watchmen Director's Cut Special Edition with unique blue mask. Next, we have The Third Man Criterion Collection Blu-ray. And we have Halloween Complete Collector's complete limited edition deluxe collector's edition. And I think last we have Moneyball on Blu-ray sealed. So that is the entire presentation confrontation.
Okay.
Spencer, I think you got more right in the first half. So Jared, how much do you think all of these things combined are worth?
What an eclectic group of physical media box sets you found.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
3,200.
Okay. And Spencer, what is your guess?
I'm going to go 4,000.
Okay, so 3,200 and 4,000. The correct answer is 2,270. So you both went over. Nobody wins the presentation confrontation. So that is our game. That's what was the name of the silly game? I can't remember. The cost
is correct.
The cost is correct. Thank you for playing our game. The cost is correct.
That's great.
So, what we usually end with the show with is a couple of recommendations of things we've watched or things that are relevant to the movie we watched today. I think I'll kick it off based off of some stuff I recommended earlier. I'm going to recommend Past Lives and About Time. So if you haven't seen either of those two movies, go watch them. They are some of the best romantic movies or comedies or whatever you want to call either of them made in the last, 20 years. Those movies are phenomenal. I love them very much. Spencer.
I am going to recommend Jared's TikTok, first of all. For real, go follow that. Go. He's doing awesome stuff.
Thanks, man.
In terms of movies, I'm going to throw out Plus One, which is a rom-com with, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the podcast before, but a rom-com with, he's in The Boys. He's Jack Quaid. Thank you. Very charming movie. Very good. And then I also talked about Palm Springs. I know I've recommended that before, but I will recommend that one as well because it's incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jared, what would you recommend?
Oh, let's see. We talked about You've Got Mail. If you've never seen You've Got Mail, here's my pitch. It's fantastic. Watch it in the fall. Save it for the fall or Christmas time. It could work at both.
Yes.
Incredible soundtrack. Go watch the movie and then go just listen to the soundtrack. Fantastic. So you can't go wrong there. Definitely, like I said, my favorite movie of all time. If somebody hasn't seen it, please go watch that. I'm currently watching on Apple TV Plus Silo, which talking about things that have you on the edge of your seat, where you're just very intensely leaning forward and watching. That is one. Rebecca Ferguson is fantastic in it, and it's really, really good. Like halfway through right now, so definitely that. And something I watched recently. I just watched Jack Reacher for the first time, and I kind of loved it. So I've just been on this Tom Cruise kick, so I watched that for the first time, and it kind of rules. It's like a Tom Cruise action movie with a murder mystery kind of mixed into it, and it's great.
Yeah, Jack Reacher's a cool movie. That's a cool one.
Jared, anything else you'd like to plug? Obviously, we've talked about the TikTok. Is there anything else you're doing? Anything else you're working on that you want to plug here on the pod?
No, that's kind of it, man. I'm trying to do more like series stuff. I've been trying to dig into different filmmakers' filmographies and go through those. I am overdue on doing a ranking of David Fincher's filmography because I finished it, and it's rules. I love it, and I just need to do a ranking of it. And I think pretty soon I'm going to dive into Tarantino because I've only seen, I think, a little less than half. So that's what I want to do next, and go through those and experiencing those for the first time. So yeah, follow me on TikTok. I don't really have anything else. I'm not doing any long form stuff yet on YouTube or something like that. So follow me on TikTok at JRD Movies, and yeah, I do a lot of, like you said, movie reviews, talking about collecting. I'm trying to balance those two out because I just buy a lot of stuff and I'm not just putting stuff on shelves. I promise I watch these movies and I love them. I swear I do. I swear I do. So yeah, follow me over there and let's have some fun.
Awesome. Now, look, everyone listening, you have so much stuff to watch. You got a whole backlog of wonderful TikToks to go through and a bunch of movies. It's very serendipitous, and you should go and do that, or don't. I don't know. Live your life.